Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, February 4th, 2022, we're continuing our coverage of the ongoing crisis between Ukraine and the Russian Federation. And as always, we're going to have a quick look at both mainstream and not so mainstream media headlines. So here we go. What do we have here? We've got, let's see, the metro.co.uk, British parts found on downed Russian spy drone in Ukraine. Mail Online, Russia state TV channels warn Ukraine attack is imminent. And what they're talking about there is Russian state media claiming that a Ukrainian operation against Eastern separatists could be very, very close at hand. Now, whether that's true or not, probably not, but that's what they're saying. And then we have Ukraine International. Ukraine comments on Russia's preparation of fake video as pretext for attack. And again, Ukraine International, Ukrainian drone shot down in Belarus turns out to be Russian. And again, that's coming from a Ukrainian news source. So they probably would say that, even if it was a Ukrainian drone. Again, hard to say. Let's see here. Ukrainian International. Ukraine's increase money transfers abroad several times amid rumors of Russian invasion. And let's see here, and then we also have the one about the Israelis actually denying the Baltic nations the transfer of some of its weapon systems, such as the Spike anti-tank guided weapon system that the Israelis have sold some of these Baltic nations in Poland, and specifically, the Israelis are worried about the use of those Spike missile systems in Ukraine. What's interesting is that the Israelis have sold those systems to Azerbaijan, which then deployed those Israeli weapon systems against the Armenians who were backed by the Russians. So again, very, very interesting. If you get a chance, go YouTube, check out the Spike weapon system. Very, very advanced, very, very good system for blowing up tanks and armored fighting vehicles, trucks and bunkers, and the whole range of things that it can be used against. But we're also hearing continued information about the ongoing Russian buildup. We're starting to hear now that additional Russian National Guard units are now being sent to the border areas, or are more specifically, more accurately, in a westerly direction towards Ukraine. And those forces are coming from all over the Russian Federation. Specifically, some of these forces, these National Guard forces, and again, much of these forces were made up of the former interior troops, which is kind of like a parallel army to the actual Russian ground forces, and it took care of internal security issues in the former Soviet Union. And today, the National Guard directly reports to Vladimir Putin, and some consider it kind of what you could consider a Praetorian Guard type of force, but very, very large. And for the most part, it operates more as a internal security force around the Russian Federation. But those units, again, are being deployed towards a westerly direction, towards Ukraine. And many of those forces, at least have been spotted on train transporting its equipment west, would have vehicles would normally be used for prisoner transport. So that's kind of an interesting tidbit of information, that the Russians are starting to deploy units that have a capability of prisoner transport. So I guess the thought being that if an operation takes place, they're going to see the possible surrendering of military units of Ukraine, and obviously you'd have to do something with those prisoners of war. So in any armed conflict, you have to be ready for such activity, such as taking prisoners of war. Matter of fact, in 1991, if for those of you who remember, when the United States liberated Kuwait, the United States was simply not prepared for the huge amounts of prisoners of war that the U.S. took from surrendering Iraqi forces that were surrendering in Kuwait and areas in western Iraq. But again, it would appear that, at least on the surface, the Russians are preparing for the possibility of having to deal with large amounts of prisoners. And again, that would be the deployment of some of those National Guard units to the west. We're also hearing that, and this is coming out of, I think it's CIT that reported this, that they're roughly half or 50% of all Russian forces in the eastern, what you kind of refer as the eastern military districts, have now been deployed west. So again, huge amounts of forces to include Spetsnaz, motorized rifle, battalion tactical groups, artillery. It really runs the gambit that's being deployed west. And again, we're watching this very, very closely because it's really unprecedented. I mean, we've seen Russia deploy forces before, and it conducts a lot of snap exercises. But in terms of what is being reported right now, in terms of the sheer volume of forces that are being deployed, this is really something that has really never been seen. And as we know, the Olympic Games have started today, the opening ceremonies. So I believe it's for the next 17 days, is it? That the Olympic Games will be going on. So the thought process is that Russia would not act until after the Winter Games. Now, I would say that could be politically risky for Putin, because then it would look more telegraphed and intentional. Not to say that what's going on now is not telegraphed and intentional, but by waiting just till after the Olympic Games, I would say that Western media would say, well, old Putin decided to wait till after the Olympic Games, where it would not infringe on China's Olympic Games. Whereas I would say, in terms of if he went ahead and launched an operation during the Winter Games and made it look like or declared that it was a provocation by Ukraine, that seems more legitimate. It seems like it would lessen the intent-based action that he is doing. So again, if he waits till after the Olympic Games, Western media is going to say, well, clearly he conducted the operation immediately after the Winter Games, whereas not to cause issue with China. And now again, but if he does it during the Olympic Games, then you could say, well, or he could say, well, there was no intent to invade Ukraine, and this was clearly a provocation, both by the West and by Ukraine, to both to try to seize the eastern separatist region and disrupt China's Winter Games. So it's a double-edged sword, and who knows what the calculus of Putin is going to be at this point. But again, that's kind of the news out of the area right now. We're watching the deployment now of these National Guard forces that are deploying west, and we're starting to hear some of the Russian media claim that a imminent operation against the separatists could be getting ready to occur. And we also received some information that this was from civilian sources in eastern Ukraine of explosions being heard near the Russian border. So not sure what that's all about yet, but again, we're going to keep an eye on the situation and report. And obviously, if this does kick off and there is an operation, then obviously we may do more than one video a day, depending on what happens. So there we have it, and there we go, and we'll have more very, very soon. Have a good day, everybody.